Hello everyone. Good morning. I hope I'm audible, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So this marks the second session for Power Platform. We have already completed the first session. I hope you guys have gone through that. In this session, we will mainly talk about SharePoint and we'll also talk about Power Apps. I see still a few more folks are joining in. All right, that's fine. So we'll proceed. Uh, Let me. Okay, few more people are joining in. All right, I'll just start with the session for now. Okay, all right. Yeah, so these are the contents. You know, what we went through throughout the first session. I'll just do a quick summary on this. So, in the first session, what we did was we understood what is Power Platform, what are the use cases of Power Platform, what are Power Apps, Power Platform components, the logic, and then the use cases of Power Platform, and also the Power Platform architecture. We went through what a company does, what's the business associated with the company, and how we get into the business apps or the business websites, uh, the different components of the business applications. Then we went through four major types of business applications. One is front-end apps. Next, we have data sources. Then we have automations, and then we have data analytics. Then we hopped on to the Power Platform service or suite, where we have Power Apps, which is used to create apps, forms. We discussed on Power Automate, which is basically an automation software, which is used for emails, campaigns, verifications, anything which you can automate is basically done through Power Automate. We discussed a brief on Power BI, which is data analytics or insight software. It is used by the BI experts to generate reports, enhance their business outcomes. Then we went on to discuss about Power Virtual Agents, uh, which helps in chatbots, creating chatbots. Then we discussed on Dataverse, on how the data is stored uh, in the Power Platform. Power Pages being the latest addition to the Power Platform suite is used to create secured websites. We also discussed on different job tracks, what all you guys would be learning, and how you can get onto a decent job using all the tools and services of Power Platform. Today, in this class, we will get onto SharePoint. What is SharePoint? What is SharePoint used for? what is a data source. Then we will get into how to operate SharePoint. Then we will uh, understand different types of sites in SharePoint. What is a list? List items. You don't need to worry. We will go through all of these things one by one. All right. So these are all the things which we will cover today in our today's session. This session is going to be for 45 minutes. You will be having one more session tomorrow where we will jump onto Power Apps, Power Automate, and then we will uh, basically make a small app which can be used end to end. Your app will work as an interface. You will be doing some functions on the app. Then the data will be stored from the app to the backend, or in this case, it will be stored into SharePoint. So we'll deal with all those things tomorrow. Okay. Let me stop sharing my screen. I'll share my screen again and we will jump on to SharePoint. Okay, I'll have to share my screen again. Just 1 second. All right. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible. Um, Taking this a bit up. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, uh, before we jump into this, we will also understand what is SharePoint. Yeah. Okay. So, what is SharePoint? SharePoint is a cloud-based data source which is used to store and manage the organizational data in the form of list, documents, at one place. Now, what do you understand by this statement? Now, here we have discussed earlier that when we have a company, we have some business, right? Now, with respect to the business, there will also be some business data, right? Which in turn will be saved as part of orders, accounts, transactions, etc. for Amazon, Flipkart, Meesho. When we come on to the ICICI Bank or HDFC Bank as banking service, then what do we have as data? We can have personal accounts, transactions, account transactions, withdrawal statements. All these are datas, right? So in order to store this data, we will have to keep it somewhere. right? Now, if we are using Power Platform, then we will be using SharePoint as the data source. So it is simple. It is a cloud-based data source which is used to store and manage the organizational data in the form of lists, documents at one place. Now, if you guys are from the IT background, you would know that data is stored in the form of rows and columns in a table, right? Now, that table is nothing here but a list. And when I say documents, this is nothing but your Excel documents, PDF, CSV, and etc. There are multiple other formats as well, right, for documents. So that is used here. Now, you would want to understand what are different types of data sources. What is a data source? What do we call as a data source, right? So, data source is the place where all the companies will store their business data. Understood? Now, you would want to deal right into SharePoint, right? So, I will share my screen again and we'll log into SharePoint because we want this to be a hands-on session. All right. So, you will have to go to office.com. I've already logged in earlier with my ID. That is why it is showing here. But if I want to sign in again, I'll just be using it. I have given my password earlier, since it's not asking for it. I'll simply go and sign in. So this is my Microsoft 365 account, right? Where you have multiple softwares, suites, integrations associated with Microsoft. Now, what do we need to do? We need to go on to SharePoint, right? Okay. Now, once you get into SharePoint, you will need to store your data, right? Now, how do we store our data here? We will directly go to create a site here on the top right hand side section. Here you have two options. Either it would be a team site or it would be a communication site. Now going forward in our next classes, we will distinguish between both these sites as well. It is more or less the same, but have significance difference. So in this particular uh, example, we will get onto the team site. Now there are multiple formats or templates in which we can store our data. We have crisis communication team format, employee onboarding format. This is usually used for HR portals. This is event planning format. This is IT help desk format where we use Freshdesk, Soho. This is retail management team, store collaboration. But here what we will be doing is we'll be just creating a standard team format. Now, if we click on this use template, we would need to give our site a name. So this database, so this will act as a database server. So you'll have to give it a name, right? Now, since this is the third batch of Power Apps, I will be giving this VSR Power Platform 3. This will already create a group ID, email ID. This is your site address, and it will create a site. Now, let's suppose you want to go ahead with giving this access to everyone inside this Microsoft account. You can choose this as public, or if you want to keep it private for the members, then it will be private. You can select also multiple languages. Now, this is the beauty of SharePoint. You can use multiple different languages in order to store your data or in order for your medium of instructions. Now, since we don't have any members here, so we don't need to add anyone. But going forward, in our classes on SharePoint, we will be adding people onto this and we will be giving them access as well. Now, if you click on finish, this is what it looks like. So your site, or in short, your database server is created. Understood? Now, I mentioned that in order to store the data here in SharePoint, we will have to do it in the form of list or documents, right? So to store some data, we will first have to go and then create one list. So there are different applications here as well. There's an app, there's a plan. You can create a plan in SharePoint as well. You can create a news link where you will be storing or uploading files or folders to your news link, and then you can automate it through Power Automate, and it will work as a news sharing application. For this point of time, we will be just clicking on list and we will be creating a list. Now there are multiple options. Like I told you earlier, we can import data from Excel, we can import data from CSV, or if you have any existing list from there as well, you can import this data. But since we don't have anything at present, we will be creating a blank list. Now, you need to keep some name for your list, right? So let's make a student table. You also need to give the description. This is not mandatory, but it would be helpful for you in order to distinguish what table is this. So this table I'm creating for the sole purpose of keeping the data of students, those who are inquiring for, let's say, the classes, or those who are inquiring for other courses. So here I'll add the description, student responses for VSR Infotech sessions. It takes some time, and yes, now it is created, right? Now your table is created. You will need some rows and columns for that. Now, what do you mean by a row and a column? So column is basically all your parameters of that table. You can add multiple columns over here. Let's say I want to add a column. I'm asking, we will keep it student serial number, number of students. The type would be single line of text because it would be number, or we can keep it number as well. Symbol will be this, automatic, default value we don't need, and then save. So this is student serial number. Then we can create another one as student name, name of the student. It would be a single line of text. It would be a default value. Save. Again, we'll be creating one more column as email. Email of the student. Save. Let's add mobile number for contacting purpose. Contact number of the student. This time, let's add a different type of column. So this column is basically our choice column. Now we can use this for the course provided. Here we can use all our choices. We can edit all our choices. Now, let this be for business analytics. Then we have Power Apps. Then we have Power BI. If you want to add some more choices, we can use SQL. We can use AWS or DevOps. Understood? And at the end, we want to add one more column which should highlight the education. Highest degree of the student. All right. So here we are done with the table creation. Any questions? Any questions, guys? Okay, I believe no. Cool. So since we have created the table now, we will now be appending items onto the table. And there's a catch here. So this is the first column of the table. If you want to edit this, you won't be able to edit from here. You will have to go and edit this from the settings section. You can go to list settings. Here is your title. If you want to click here, and you will have to change it from here. Let's say session. If you want to click on OK, and if you go back to your data, here, see, this is changed from title to session. All right. Now, you'd want to add some data onto your table, right? So from here, you can add data to your table manually. Now, tomorrow we will be showing this how you can add this from the Power Apps. So this is my first session. Let's say we are using serial number as one, Ram, ram@gmail.com, mobile number, some random number, course. So let's say this person is interested in business analytics course. The highest degree he has taken is BTech. If you want to add some attachments in order to give some preface to this data, that also you can do, but we won't be doing that, so we'll just click on save. Now, if you see, this is appended to this list. Let's do one more. Serial number two. We have Satya. Now here we have not added any validations, but you can do that as well while submitting the form in your Power Apps. That will automatically validate if that email ID is valid or not. The same with mobile number. Course, let's say they're interested for Power Apps, highest qualification MCA, done. Student number three, Vijay. Course interested in, let's say SQL, VBA, save. All right. So this is basically the table which we have created, and then we can use this in various number of forms with our Power Apps, Power Automate. Let's see, I have created a table here, and then I want to send email reminders or send some text messages onto these people. I can use the help of Power Automate, and then I will be sending it across. If I want to make some changes to this list or this table, I can do that with the help of Power Apps as well, right? So I guess I have showed you enough on the SharePoint, how to open the SharePoint, how to change the list details, the configurations, and how to create a table and then add data manually. In tomorrow's class, we will be showing how you can do that through Power Apps, how you can integrate this. I'll get onto the notepad again and I'll explain you what are the different components of SharePoint. All right. Okay. So coming back to SharePoint. Now we understood how do we operate the SharePoint. Now we will have to understand what is a site. Site is nothing but a database, container, server, which is used to store and manage the business data. Now there are two types of sites, right? Which I showed you. First one is team site. Second one is communication site. Then what did we see? Went on to list. Now what is list? This one is used to store the data in the form of rows and columns. And what is list? List is nothing but a table. Understood? We also created a student table. So this student table was our list, right? And what were all the columns of that list? We had session, we had student serial number, we had student name, email, mobile number, course, and then education, right? These are all the things which we discussed in today's class. I hope you guys are understanding the SharePoint basics here, right? In tomorrow's session, we will understand how do we create the Power Apps, and we will also integrate that with SharePoint so that it will be an end-to-end application. So tomorrow's session might be of 1 to 1.5 hours. We will connect again at around 8:30 p.m. Cool. Now, I'm open to questions. Guys, do you have any questions? Everyone?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, hello. So this is Yuvraj, like I entered through other name.
Yeah, no issues.
Uh,
Please tell me.
do we need to create some account for this or how it is? The share.
So for Office 365, so basically in order to dwell with all these Power Platform applications, you would need to have an Office 365 account, which
Uh-huh.
we will be providing you once you join the course, and you will have that access for 4 months. Post that, we can
Oh,
assure you that we will put you in that level that you can crack any job so that your employer will provide you the credentials. You don't have to buy it on your own. Or
oh,
let's say, uh, job is not only your priority, you also want to do some freelancing. So your
okay.
clients will be providing the Office 365 accounts.
Okay.
So you don't need to bother, or you don't need to worry about it.
Okay. Okay. Like, is it better to go as a fresher or like put some experience behind it, like fake experiences? Do they
So we can help you with that as well. What's your background? Like, what do you have done so far?
engineering? Like,
Okay,
I haven't done anything actually. Uh,
okay,
I was preparing for the competitive exams.
okay.
Last year
That's
and
completely fine. That's completely fine. So, you have like what, 3, 4 years of gap in
yeah,
between?
yes, yes.
Okay, that won't be a problem. So by the end of next 2 months,
Uh-huh.
you will be in a position that you can showcase yourself as a 3 years experience holder in Power Apps.
Okay.
And if you have gone through the first session recording, I have showed all the different tracks which are there in the Power Platform.
Yeah, yes,
We
yes.
will also help you for the certification.
Uh-huh.
Once you clear the certification, that has a huge demand,
Okay.
and companies will be chasing you instead of you chasing them for the
Okay.
jobs.
Okay. How is the demand and supply for this job? Like,
See, there are various roles associated with this course, right? There's a
uh,
Power BI developer, there's a BI analyst role, there is a Power Apps consultant, Power Automate engineer, Power Platform engineer. So all of those roles are, some or the other little bit different in nature.
okay.
As you know, Power BI has the strongest demand in market across all the BI tools. Similarly, if you know Power BI,
Uh-huh.
employers and companies, they are actually pushing people to learn all the other components of Power Platform as well, which
Okay.
is your Power Apps, Power Automate. So if you learn all these things, you will have a complete package.
Okay.
And the job right now, the job market right now is booming in Power Apps, because if you check Naukri or if you check LinkedIn, you will
Mm-hmm.
feel the kind of demand you have for all these job roles.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Only the MNCs are hiring for this or the startups,
No, startups are also hiring.
the product-based
So
companies?
startups in Bangalore,
Mm.
there are multiple startups associated in your Microsoft ecosystem. So those who have Microsoft partnership, they are definitely looking for Power Apps, Power Automate developers.
Okay. So, by the way, one question, like, are you working on this or what, like, or just a teaching?
No, so I have been working as a Power BI developer earlier in my career.
Uh-huh.
In last 3 years, I have moved into Power Apps.